We have an epidemic in this country. This is getting worse. An epidemic that is completely preventable. It's an epidemic that takes the lives of many Black men, women, boys, and girls. I'm talking today about gun violence. Did you know 93 Americans are killed with guns every day? That glaring statistic comes from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Black people make up 14% of all the US population, but are the victims of more than half of all homicides by firearms. And Black men are 14 times more likely, more than non-Hispanic white men, to be shot and killed with guns. I'm Lador Phoenix, in for Sharon Frame. Thanks for being in contact with us today as we focus on how to stop the violence.
We gotta know what's going on in our community. So together we can make a change, you and me. Yeah, be in contact.
In 2016, there were 585 shooting victims in Atlanta. By comparison, there were more than 4,300 shooting victims in Chicago. But Chicago is not the worst. In Memphis, you have a 1 in 9 chance of becoming a victim. The gun problem is enormous. The stats are staggering. But there's everyday heroes who are battling this epidemic problem, working to make positive changes, working to find solutions. Our first guest has an extraordinary story. He grew up in Bankhead apartments in West Atlanta, and his area was really known for a lot of drug abuse and violence. By the age of 14, he dropped out of high school and was selling drugs. Today, he's a motivational speaker and author, and late last year, he rolled himself in his wheelchair from Atlanta to Chicago. His mission? To bring awareness to the gun violence in our community. Vincent, thank you so much for joining us here on In Contact. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Take me back to that night that changed your life forever.
Wow, I was at the time living in Decatur, DeKalb County, and I decided that I would take a ride to Bankhead Courts, which was the other side of town. And as I got to Bankhead Courts apartment, saw this young lady who I had seen in a long time. She asked me, will I give her a ride home from Bankhead's apartments? I told her yes, but let me go talk to my mother and my little sister before I drop her off. And not knowing that a guy that she was dating or seeing at the time, he was watching the whole thing. It was late at night. He was watching from afar. Actually, I went around the corner, parked my car, got out of my car, parked next to his car, got out of my car, and began to walk towards my mother's house, and I heard a car door slam. And when I looked back, this guy was standing in front of me with a street sweeper, military assault weapon, and actually placed the gun at my groin area, pulled the trigger. I fell to the ground. He walked up to me again, racked the gun, put the gun to my groin area, and pulled the trigger again. I woke up. This happened 1992, November 6, 1992. I woke up in January of 1993. When I woke up, my legs was already amputated. They were gone. I was almost healed. And
oh my goodness. How did this change you and make you who you are now?
well, I look at life now and I just know that I was almost at a point to where I didn't make it to this day. I was at a point to where I almost didn't make it to see this day. I died 3 times on the operating table and I had 3 heart attacks, and I just know death was right there. So to survive this, to get past this, I look at life totally different than I did before this happened, and I love life, and I just...
This loving of life, did this help you to make the decision to take that role all the way to Chicago? Tell me about that.
Well, what happened is, it had nothing to do with it because, like I said, this happened a long time ago. God just spoke to me one day. I was just basically minding my own business. I was writing my book, and then I heard a voice that come in my head and say, you need to go to Chicago. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, who am I talking to? Not knowing at the time that this was the voice of God. And it was like, you need to go to Chicago. And I was willing to pack up my car and go to Chicago. And the voice said, no, you're gonna push your wheelchair to Chicago.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, are you serious? This is gonna hurt. This is gonna kill me. And people are gonna think I'm crazy or think I'm deranged. And so for a minute, I didn't tell anybody. I was just keeping it in, keep it within myself. And eventually, after about 2 days of me leaving, I began to tell my family and people that, you know, I need to push to Chicago. And that was my mission or assignment from God, I guess.
And when you were actually pushing yourself to Chicago and you were doing this, what was it that kept you going?
Just the thought of, well, when I first began, I thought I honestly had an attitude. Honestly, I gotta say this, I had an attitude with God because He wouldn't let me rest, He wouldn't let me sleep. And I knew I had to do this in order to get proper rest or proper sleep. But I thought I was just gonna push from Atlanta to Chicago, not knowing the people I would come in contact with on my way to Chicago. So going through these different cities towards Chicago, going through Tennessee, going through Indiana and Kentucky, going through these different cities and states, I began to meet so many people to come talk to me and give me their testimony and things that happened to them, but also ask me about my testimony and things that happened to me. And I guess it basically gave them some type of something about themselves to make them feel good.
Motivation.
You know? Yeah, motivation,
inspirational.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have something interested to ask you. As you know, President Trump had a very major opinion on bringing the feds in. Take a listen to this for me. Chicago murder rate is record-setting. 4,331 shooting victims with 762 murders in 2016. If the mayor can't do it, he must ask for federal help. What's your thoughts on that?
Wow. Well, I think that we as people, we as human beings, we have sense enough to come together, love each other, love one another, embrace one another, and respect one another. And I think we need to work on that ourselves. We need to be adults, human beings, and basically come together, talk to one another, and we don't need any help from the government. I just really feel that that was the reason why I pushed.
Right.
Because I wanted everyone to say, if this guy can go out of his way to take it upon himself to push 720 miles for the love of humanity, for the love of people, why can't we all come together and love one another, embrace one another?
What's next for you in this fight against gun violence? What's next for you?
I'm just gonna keep pushing. I'm just gonna keep pushing. Hopefully I can go to other states and other cities and bring awareness to the violence that's going on, and not just the city of Chicago, not just the city of Atlanta, not just in the United States, but all over the world.
Worldwide. Vincent Robinson, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story with me. Name of the book?
How the Streets Changed Me and Almost Took My Life.
When we come back, we'll meet a Chicago native whose family was devastated by gun violence. Now that traumatic experience had inspired her to come back and save the next generation. Special thanks to In Contact's master hairstylist and makeup artists, Raya Monet and Inga Bailey. Please visit Raya's Instagram to view her styles at Official Raya Hair and send her a message to book an appointment to receive 15% off a shampoo and style when you mention In Contact. Also, please visit In Contact's makeup artist, Inga Bailey, owner of Inga Bailey Brows at ingabaileybrows.com. Please follow and friend us on Facebook, In Contact, Twitter at In Contact ATL, and on Instagram, In Contact TV Show. Be informed, be in contact.